provide for good elections? Do you have a good electoral code? Like in Bulgaria, we don't. Do you follow international norms? Because as you know, the international norms, the UN Convention of Civil Economic Rights is much higher than the local. So even if the country ratified it, and even ratified it, of course. So this is what we look. This is very simple. We look how elections are done, what have been physically done, and what the preparations are, and we look what it's written in the papers. Very simple job for me. And the third point is the election administration, which is extremely complicated. I have done work on that too, but I'm glad it's not my field. In Bulgaria it's quite complicated, in other countries it's less complicated, but let's say that there is always agency that is in charge with constituting and going through the whole process of elections, starting with printing ballots, information campaigns. In Bulgaria it's called the Central Electoral Committee, and there is a Regional Electoral Committee, and then you have a Sectoral Election Committee, which are the lovely people you meet in a little schoolroom like this one where you cast your vote. Basically, what do we observe about that? If the society really accepts and understands the work, it's the public's attitude toward this. This is what we're really interested when we observe. As I mentioned, the electoral administration are in charge with the information. So for us to understand if they do their job very well is to find out if people are informed about the elections. So that's one criterion. Number 4 out of 12, I'll try to go quicker, is the register of voters. In Bulgaria we don't have active register of voters. We have over 1 million dead people who are proven dead. They're buried or cremated. Like my late grandfather, he's still in the electoral votes. And I know for many grandfathers who even voted after they passed away. And this is happening, it's possible in Bulgaria, and there are many cases because of the lack of active registration for voters. So you're just there because one day you got an ID, Bulgarian ID, but even after you died, no one writes you off, and someone can vote with your ID. Or I'm not going there because I'm just presenting the general topic. I have more interesting things to tell you, so let's go quickly. Number 5 is registration of parties, which is also very problematic in many countries. This is very discriminatory thing. Parties and candidates, individual candidates and coalitions, the way they're registered in Bulgaria is very controversial. There are different measurements for parties, different for single candidates. The number of votes, of signatures you need to collect, the time frame given is very, very complicated. Say for just an example, for a single candidate, you have to collect 2,500 signatures for these European elections to go there, which is quite a lot. In many countries it's much less. Anyway, this is about what we observe is the criteria. What do you need in order to run for elections? Is it easy? Is it accessible? And then the 6th is the campaign. And this is very interesting. In Bulgaria, the campaign is just speaking with someone. To me, it looks like pornography. It's it's really presenting something that everyone knows is happening somewhere, but you don't want to see. It's ugly. During campaign, it's more like a compromise in Bulgaria. We don't have discussion of ideas, of politics, but we have discussion of, we have the clash between images, between a person, like Sergei Stanishev or Boyko Borisov or some other people who they don't have policies. They're not champions of the people. They don't present themselves a strong policy, but they present little cases. Say for the case of the nuclear power, the one says this, the one says the other, the opposite. So to me as a political analyzer, this seems like they're fighting for foreign financial interests more than for policies. And this is very obvious even for a person who is not a political analyzer. So it's, yeah, the political campaigns in Bulgaria, they're not really concerned with informing people about long-term policies. What are we going to do? We're going to do this today, we're going to build a dam, and in 10 years we're going to have a lot of water, we're going to have agricultural plants. No, today everything is done day by day. We're going to build a highway, but then we're going to have a huge traffic jam in Burgas because the highway ends up on a traffic light. Yes. So it's the policy we're speaking about. We have the lack of discussion of policies in Bulgaria, but we only speak on small projects. And that's the problem in the campaign, just in the context of Bulgaria, for the Bulgarians to understand. I'm sure all of you know about your countries. And we have the media. I'm not going to say anything about the media. Because I'm never going to shut up, and we don't have time for that. But let's say that media should be plural. When we observe media, it should be plural, it should be impartial, objective, it should be free, moral, accessible, informative. It should not be owned by a single big guy, 33-year-old, very successful. Oh, shut up. So we have complaints and appeals. It's point number 8. And this is very important. In Bulgaria, if you write a complaint and appeal to number... Where was the administration? If you write a complaint and appeal to number 3, and I write many of these complaints and appeals as a human rights activist, they simply do not answer to me. They do not reply to me personally. They gather all the complaints and appeals on one point, and they reply generally to this point. They say, yes, we receive many complaints and appeals about fake ballots, but they're insignificant, they're only 500,000. So we're a huge country, it doesn't matter, elections are free and fair. So, the king is dead, long live the king. Elections are fine, we never cancel elections. Sometimes in small sections in certain towns we did, but in general, with the huge violations of electoral rights, with people running with boxes, and this was even known in Nicaragua, where I was observing elections, when I told a person in a small village, where our car hardly got up there to the top of the mountains, it's 4,200 meters above sea level. My driver didn't want to go there. The village is called, by the way, Rudel. I think Rudel came from there. I'm an anthropologist, I'm too busy to discover, but maybe, I don't know. In the village of Rudel, the person, when he asked me why you're here, I told I'm here to observe the elections. And he asked what country you come from. I said I'm from Bulgaria. He laughed. Because this was 2011, November, and he had internet in this village. And he saw pictures of people running with boxes, with ballot papers, going to their houses because it was a mess. Then they come back in the morning, they lost some of the ballots, they count whatever they had, no one had all the papers. And then the elections were free and fair in the European Union. So this guy looked at me there. I lost all credibility and respect for him. And he told me, look my friend, we know how to make elections, we don't need Bulgarians. Sorry. So, you know. And this is complaint and appeals. They have to be fair, and people should feel that if they feel their right was violated, there is authority. In some countries there is a special court for electoral offenses. So you don't go through the normal, very slow Bulgarian court that will take 10 years. You go to a special electoral tribunal where things are decided only, they're specialists in elections, the judges are trained. Yeah, there are good practices, let's say. And we look for that. And the 9 is human rights. And this is what I usually do. Also, it's one of my topics that I do with my... When you observe elections around the world, you work in teams of 2, and we split whatever we're good in. I'm not good in media. I'm a very biased person when it comes to media. So I take, for example, human rights. We look for journalists. We look for women involvement. In many countries this is the case, like in, you know, traditional countries, traditional societies, some Islamic countries, but not only. Access to women is not so easy, and it's not that they're not allowed to vote, it's that it's called controlled vote or family vote, when say the oldest person in the family decides for whom the family will vote, and we observe that in Bulgaria. So it's not only the case of buying votes, of someone paying you to buy votes, it's the case of one person deciding for the rest. And this also has to do with information and with the media. If people are well informed, maybe they would stand up and say, no, I'm voting for the Greens, grandfather, I'm not voting for the communists this year, for example. Just giving an example.
It was something like a propaganda for the Greens. So.
Yeah, I'm now absolutely openly making political propaganda for the Greens.
I'm joking.
No, but I'm not. But I'm not. But I'm not. So yes,
Because I'm
vote for the Greens.
I support the Greens.
Me too, and I believe it's a very good way for a person to express his own. I'm not
It's
here.
on film, you know.
Yes. Vote green. So, and then we have the civil society.
The so-called.
I think we're all here, so we're not telling you much about the civil society. But let's say not in many countries this is not very developed. And in Bulgaria some say the civil society is very strong and some say it's not. In my opinion, the civil society in Bulgaria is very strong. And it's not organized, but it's strong, and people have their opinions. So I will skip that because we are all here representatives of civil society, or at least we are part of a civil society forum venue. So if you don't know about civil society, again, come back to me and Radi and we will tell you how it works and why it's so important and what are the mechanisms to impact your society without even voting even. Being a member of civil society or not even not. You could be individual activist, not member of any organization and make an impact. Like a lot of the people on the street, they were not member of anything. But they helped me to get in there and send my ideas. And number 11, we're almost getting there, is voting and counting. This is just technical procedures. I'm never into that. It's like who click where. In Bulgaria we had this case where you have a box and you're only allowed to vote with an X. And if the X goes out of the box,
Yes.
invalid. And if you vote with a, this checked, in the Anglo-Saxon culture, very popular way to vote, not valid.
It's changed. For this election you can vote with this.
I know, because you guys shouted on the streets and I got inside and told them that they should accept it, and they did. And they accepted few very small things, but the main things, the philosophical things about having free and fair elections are still yet to be in our electoral code. But I'm not going to unless you're interested in observing elections, and this is the end of my presentation. I'm here.
And aren't they 12?
Is there any?
No.
I ask
How?
Please.
is it true that in the European elections, one is only allowed to vote for a candidate from their own country?
No.
There's not. I recently heard that from my mother.
But Maria, you are the specialist in European elections. He will explain you better than me.
We are only allowed to vote for some candidate who's from our own country.
No, when I lived in Denmark, I voted for the Swedish Pirate Party, the one that protect our anonymity online, the one that fight for the torrents, for all us to watch American movies without paying for that, and for our Facebook chats not to be so easily available to everyone. But they still are because they go under the American legislation. But yeah.
You're in Denmark?
Yes, I was in Denmark, but you can vote for a local candidate, but he's representative of a larger European party. So yes, you vote for a local candidate, but he's part of the Greens or the Pirate Party or different coalition, and you can also vote for a party. I mean, you can choose.
I think we must have the right to vote for not only the local candidate.
For example,
To be honest, I haven't really looked at the technology because I'm here and I even told I'm not able to vote in these elections. So I'm not sure about it.
I'd like to know how many of you have voted for the past European elections. Is there anybody?
Oh my God.
Only 2, 3 persons? 4, 5, 6, 7? And you know.
I didn't.
I do. Could I ask you why?
Why I did not vote?
Yes.
Well, it was because I couldn't find my representative and I was not informed well that I could actually vote for another country's representative, which is something that I learned just now. And I still don't know how I can do that. I have to check on the internet probably and find a way. And actually I didn't like anybody of these guys who went to the European Parliament, who actually were candidates for going to the European Parliament the previous elections. And I don't like them even now when they were representatives.
So the problem
Up
is
to
that
now actually.
you do not want to.
I actually know some of these guys personally and I really dislike them.
You do not want to recognize our national representatives, the representatives of Bulgarian political parties, are our European representatives.
I don't like them, and I do not like to vote for representatives, for a party who has such representatives like these in Bulgaria. If they have anything in common with them, I don't like this kind of party. It's not my kind. For example, I don't like Stoil. I cannot vote for the party which has chosen him.
Yes.
Now we have Iran Pesky and so on and so on and so on.
Yes,
I don't like Chingeta, I don't know how to say it, with the proper root is in English. Actually the agents,
Secret
the
service
civil agents,
functionaries.
secret service agents going to the parliament, and most of the parties have such representatives, and they are actually in the European Parliament. That's why I don't like to vote for such parties, and actually there were no others.
And you weren't well informed, but you know about the Tsitselkov.
Please, just to finish my presentation, if you allow.
Yeah.
So the last part of my presentation, I didn't finish. I finished my presentation with that. It's not that I finished my presentation. Clarification. I finished my presentation with presenting you the opportunity to observe the European elections that are now coming on Sunday here in Bulgaria. I work for the Sofia Civil Society Tsitselkov, where we're colleagues with Radi, but I also work for another organization. It's called the European Association for Defense of Human Rights. And I'm a member of the board of this organization in Bulgaria, but this is also a very large organization, European organization with its headquarters in Brussels, and we are a permanent observer of the European Parliament. So we have representatives in the Parliament all the time. We speak with politicians. Our ideas are heard, and because of that and because of my personal profile, I have a selection observer for the Commission. I just last night got the accreditation, finally, the approval to observe the elections here from our electoral administration that I mentioned in point number 3. They just gave me green light, and I'm now free to go and observe the Bulgarian elections with the full accreditation from them. So I can go inside, check who voted for who, check the names on the roll papers, check how many people voted up to the hour I checked, see if everything is full, see if rooms are open on time, see if there is any sort of intimidation. I can look if there are posters near the schools, like here I saw a poster just next to the school that is going probably to be used for voting, which should not be there on the day of elections. I can look for violations, I can look for positive things as well, and this is the way to make sure that elections are really free and fair. The more people are actually interested in what these people do in the rooms, what papers go where, what happens, how is this counted, the better. So as election observer, we got the right to follow the whole process. What I do usually, I go in one section in the morning, I sit there for half an hour, I observe what's going on, if all procedures are followed, if the IDs of people are checked properly, if their data is written down, if there is queues, if they're explained for whom to vote, because this is very important. When you walk in this room, you shouldn't be just left there alone. You should be very carefully explained about all your options, about all the ways you can cast your vote, even about the option to put a blank ballot without voting. You can go there but not select anyone. So this all should be explained to you. And I'm the person observing that. And what I offer you, if you're interested, we still have a few more days, I can give you a crash course into election observation. And if, for those of you who agree, you can give your names to me and some other personal detail, and I'll send to the Central Electoral Committee right now before lunch. My colleague is waiting. I just text him because we're running late with time. He's waiting. And yeah, you can get an official accreditation for observing elections and professional training for how to do it. It's very simple. It's up to you how many sections you would observe. If you're really busy and lazy, I think most the second. I cannot see how you're busy to observe how democracy is done in your country and in Europe. You know, Europe, all these countries. So you vote here, you know, somewhere here in this small country, but affects all these countries because representatives from all these parties go in the European Parliament somewhere here, and decide the future of Europe. They decide if the projects for a stadium that is really no one needs this stadium is going to happen like that. If this is going to be changed. This is decided this Sunday. And the mechanism and the way it's happening should be controlled and should be observed. And if you think this is important, come and write your name here, and we'll speak more about that later. But just before I finish, to give you an idea, I'm not able to make you election specialist in 4 days. I'm really not able. I wish I could, but I can't. I have still more racket in the car, and I won't enjoy it. But I can really give you the basics for when you go in your room where you vote to make sure that your own vote is casted in a free and fair way. And you could, if you have the free time, you could really spend some time, go stay late in the evening, stay there with your vote, follow the votes, see how they're casted, learn about the mechanism. I think in this way you start understanding and respecting elections more. Me, myself, I never believed in elections as a young person. I never went to vote. I didn't like these people. But then, understanding the mechanism, I realized that with not voting, I actually legitimized the first ones, who are usually the guys that I dislike the most. So then I found it's actually better to go and vote for a party that would never get in the parliament, but at least I voted for them. Again, my